Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining our live stream. I'm very excited to have you on board who have joined. My name is Shashank, and I'm from the community team at LottieFiles. We are super excited today to be sharing about progress animation in iOS. That would be done by Evandro Hoffmann, who is head of mobile in technology at LottieFiles. He would be giving us a quick demo while doing the live coding of how to integrate into any of your iOS application and what are the benefits, and he would then answer the questions as well, whatever you have during the session. So before we get started, and I invite Evandro and give him the stage to do the right thing. I would want to quickly walk you through what LottieFile does and what LottieFile is for the people who has joined for the first time. And yeah, one more thing. I believe people are joining from across the globe. So I would highly appreciate if you could tell us where you guys are joining in. And if you could do it, just type in your location and just put it as comment just to keep the vibe going and momentum going for this particular live stream. Thanks in anticipation. So a quick intro about LottieFiles. So LottieFiles is a platform for testing, calibrating, and discovering animation for the communities of animators, designers, and developers. So this particular platform offers varieties of tools, features that aim to make the animation itself, beautify it, and make it look very good. And you can integrate it using in your application or website in any way which you want to, whatever is preferable for you. So there are plenty of ways to basically use Lottie in whatever way you want to use it. So there are a couple of Lottie use cases which I would like you to have a look at. Quick walkthroughs, in-app animation, small websites and blogs. You can create animated stickers and send it through your Telegram. So that is also what you can do. There are a couple of reactions which you can create. You can also create games through it, through the animation. Infographics also included into AR and VR presentations as well, whereby it would be playing, and you can make the presentation interactive. Animated icons as well, and social media posts too. So you can do it in any way, any which way you want to. You can include it in any of the use case which you can see at this point of time. Also, you can come up with your own use case and try to integrate it with your own use case. That's pretty much about the use cases. I would also like to give you a brief, little quick intro video of LottieFiles, whereby you can get a good hang of what LottieFiles is.
I've got a big fat drum. I've got a big fat drum, pounding so bad. I've got a big fat drum. I've got a big fat, big. Listen, yeah, clap. You ready? Let's go.
So that's a quick intro about LottieFiles. So at this point of time, 13,000 plus companies are using LottieFiles to ship the animations. If I name few, there's TikTok, Google, and Airbnb, which are some of the few which are using it. Uh, so you can also try to get a hang of it to see how you can utilize it in your real life and day to daily life when you build the application. So also we also have Lottie community, whereby we bring on people like today. We basically do offline events, online events too, around the globe, which whereby we cover various topics as we are covering today progress animation. In similar fashion, we cover various topics to make aware about that particular specific topic and how you can realize your full potential on that particular topic to developers, designers, and marketers. So you do check out our community, Lottie community hashtag. Do follow it on social media so that you can get an idea of what's happening next in Lottie world. And you can anytime join us. We would be very much happy to bring you on board to see how you are uh, hang with other developers, designers within the community. So now this is the time. I will be inviting uh, the man of the show, Evandro Hoffmann, to walk us through real stuff and how to integrate progress animation in any of iOS application. Evandro, uh, the stage is all yours. Welcome and thank you so much for your time for the community members on behalf of the community for walking us through what you're gonna do today.
Thank you, Shashank. Hello, everybody. So here's Evandro Hoffmann. So I'm head of mobile here in LottieFiles, and today I'm going to be showing you, as Shashank just said, progress animations in iOS. And by progress, there's like different ways of doing that. But what we're going to be focusing on today is like download progress animations. So basically, I'm going to show you how to use animations that have like an interaction that there is a progress during the animation and a completion state. Well, to start, I'm gonna open my Xcode and I'm gonna walk you through on how to do that. Well, if first step is I'm going to integrate a Lottie library using Swift Package Manager. So I'm going to just select my project and then package dependency. And then here, I'm just going to search for Lottie. I already have it here, so that's why it's listed. But otherwise, what you do is just input the URL, which is github.com, Airbnb, and Lottie iOS.git, and then add the package, just add to your project. And basically, that's it. I have Lottie integrated. Then from here, I'm going to start by adding an animation view. The animation view is quite simple. It's just like I'm going to say animation view, and then this is the type animation view. It's if I just do like this, it's going to auto import using the Xcode new feature, and then in here I'm just going to initialize my animation view. Once I do that, I'm going to return my animation view. I like doing it like this because then I can focus all my configuration inside of this variable. So like, for example, if I want to set the content mode, so I make sure that my animation will never stretch. It's going to actually stay inside of the view. I just say aspect fit just to maintain that. And then from this point, I need to add my animation view to my view. To do that, I'm just going to copy some code and paste it here. Basically, what I did here is add the animation view to my screen and then set the constraints. And then I'm actually going to set 300 by 300 and right in the middle of the screen. That's it. Nothing special in here. And then from this point, what I need to do is import my just load my animation. Right? We didn't choose an animation yet, so let's just pick one from this list in here. Well, I like this one. It kind of covers what I'm looking for. So I'm going to click on it. There's something here. It's not like let me refresh and then it should, okay, there you go. I have the animation from here. I'm going to copy it. So I come here and then I copy the URL, and then from here I just say animation.loaded from, and then I set my URL. I'm going to start it as a string and then just paste what I got from there. I'm going to force and wrap because this one is always is always a URL, like that is never going to change. And then I have my animation from here. I need to pass my animation, so I don't need to use self. So I'm just going to say animation view in here because it's closure, and then animation view dot animation gets my animation that I just loaded. And then, of course, if we want to use a cache, which is the case, so it's not going to try to load every time the same thing. I'm going to say LRU animation cache dot shared cache, and this should load my animation. If I run my project from here, it should already present as in the middle of the screen the animation that we just loaded. No interaction, nothing happens just yet. Now, what we're going to do is actually add the interaction. To do that, we are going to come back to animation view here. As I said, we can keep all we can focus all the configuration inside of this place. So I'm going to change it to lazy because I'm going to use self in this case. I'm going to add gesture recognizer, and then UI tap gesture recognizer, and then here set the target to self, and then select selector. In this case, I didn't have a function yet. I'm going to create this function. So it's going to be object C func start download, and then I have my download in here. I'm going to just copy this and then put it inside here, and now I have an action. Okay, so from this point on, what I want to happen is that when I tap in here, it should start my download, show the progress, and then the completion in the end. So let's understand our animation a little bit before we start that. You see that the point zero has exactly like it's just like static. It just looks like a button, right? If I keep on moving the cursor here and then I move a little before, you see there is some animation until the start of this point, which is before we start the progress itself. So I'm just going to pick this frame in here. Yeah, just going to pick the frame here, which was 120 that we saw in here. And then I'm going to input in here. So I'm going to say animation dot play to frame, and then I am going to just put 120. From this point on, what I want to do is actually start a download and then show this progress, the same as it does here, right? So let's to do that, I already have in my project download manager, a very simple thing that I built before. That will just have like a URL session here. It will allow me to start with a URL and then start the download with two completion handlers that we're going to be using here. One of them is progress, showing me like the progress, and then the completion itself. Okay, so knowing that, what we're going to do, coming back to our view controller, I'm going to say download manager dot sorry, it's going to be just starting with a URL, and then I need to just input a URL here, like something to download, right? I already have something here. It's just like a random image from Unsplash. I'm going to force unwrap it because again, like we know that this is a URL, and then finally start download, and then we have the progress and the completion, two things in here. Okay, so just so to know what exactly we're going to be doing here, during the progress, I want to show what is my progress during the download, and then the completion, just the completion state. Okay, so for that, we're also, because it's also a closure, we're also going to send our animation view in both of the closures here, just like that. And then the first one is actually setting the progress. So I'm going to say animation view dot current frame, and I'm going to actually be working with the frame by frame for this progress to happen. Just to understand, progress here is actually going to be a number between 0 and 1. So it means that between this number, I'm going to show the progress, right? So I cannot just say progress here directly. I need to actually know what is my frame. So let's understand what that number means inside of this animation. So if we come back here and then we pick that 120 was actually the start, and we keep on moving the cursor, you're going to see that the progress starts and then it goes all the way to 189. So it's like this is the number here. So this means 100%, right? So in here, I'm going to say 189 times and then the progress itself. Okay, so this would work if this animation actually starts the progress in 0, but it doesn't, right? Like we said before that the progress in here starts in 120. So of course, we need to decrease 120 from this point So we know that this is exactly this difference is exactly the amount of frames that it takes to complete 100% of that progress. And then, because again it starts in 120, we're just going to sum 120 to all of this. So I am just constructing here the logic so everybody understands on how this works. And this is going to set the progress exactly as we're telling it to do it here. And then once it's finished, we're just having to play the animation once again to the correct frame in the end, right? So let's go back in here and then just understand what is the completion, which is this one, right? So it means 100 and 240 here. That's how much it took to go all the way to the end. So I'm just going to say 240. All right, just to wrap, just to recap here what we did, we created an animation, we added a tap gesture, we added the animation to the screen, we then loaded the animation, and then finally we added a download state to start the download. During download, we're setting the current frame, and then finally, we're setting the completion. If we run this application now, you're going to see that once I tap in the animation in the middle of the screen, it's going to start the download and then going to download, but it's quite fast, of course. But if it was a longer download, you would see the completion like a little bit slower around this area. Yeah, so that's it. This is like just to wrap up UI kit. All right, knowing that we know how to build that in UIKit, how would that be in SwiftUI? Okay, so for SwiftUI, I have another project here that is already ready, and then I have already a Lottie animation, a Lottie framework in here. And what we have to do is just create a Lottie animation and then add it to my content view. To do that, first thing we're going to create a new file. It's going to be called download view. I have my download view in here. And then finally, I'm going to create, this is actually going to be the type of, so I just repeat download view. Because Lottie is not directly supporting SwiftUI, we need to create a UI viewer presentable and wrap it inside, right? So to do that, we just say it's a UI viewer presentable. I'm also going to import two more things here, which is UI kit, and also I'm going to import Lottie. And we don't need foundation here because it's already included in the other ones. And then here we have to make two basic methods. One of them is make the UI view, which is the place we're going to create the view itself. And the other one is update the UI view. Only those two. Okay, so to start with making the UI view, I'm going to create a view so that we can wrap our animation view inside with auto layout. So this is going to be something like this, UI view, and then return UI view, view. And then inside here, I'm just going to add my my animation view to this view, and then finally set the constraints. But of course, before we do that, we need to create our animation view. I'm going to come back to my UI view code, and then you're going to see how similar it is to create from one to the other. I copied my animation view, and I'm going to remove a few things that we won't need in here. First thing, I don't need it to be lazy, and I also don't need the tap gesture inside here. So now I have the basic animation view, and then I'm adding this animation view, and in this case, I'm not constraining it to 300 by 300, but just constraining it to the entire view. Because like the control of how big it is, we're going to control from the SwiftUI. Okay, so as we have that, we need to also load our animation view, which is exactly the same as we did before. So I'm just going to copy and then paste in here. And then we have animation loaded from, and then the same URL. We just set the animation inside, and then we also set the cache. Okay, we have our view ready. So let's go back to content view, and then let's add it to the to our content view, right? So in here, I'm just going to say download view, and it's going to yeah. So it's just going to start like that, and in here, I'm going to just say the size of this, right? Which is frame, and then I have width and height. I'm going to just put the same as I did in the UI kit. I'm going to say 300 by 300. I'm going to remove this part that I don't need. Let me just do it like this so it looks a little bit better. And then I'm going to play my code. If everything is correct, what should happen is that we should see our animation in the middle of the screen, which is exactly what just happened. All right, so we have that ready. Next step is actually interacting with it. SwiftUI has like something a little bit easier to use, which is the on-tap gesture. We can just put it here, and then we can add interaction from here. However, before we interact, we need to know the states of this animation. So I'm going to go back to my download view, and I'm going to create enum here just to list all the states that we have available. So we have enum state. I'm going to call it. Let's just call it animation state, so we don't confuse it with the SwiftUI state. Then we have here like the case of a normal animation, which is it's like basically static, the standard one. Then we have the case when we are preparing for download. So prepare for download. And then finally we have downloading. And then in here, we're going to send the progress, which is in double. And then one more only, which is the downloaded state. Okay, exactly the four states that we handled in the previous implementation. So let's understand why it's four states. Because like once we loaded the animation, it was in one state, just static. Then we set up the second state, which is like the prepare for download. Then we set up while it's downloading the progress, and then finally the completion. Basically that. Coming back to SwiftUI here, I'm going to create then a binding variable, which we're going to be calling it animation state. And then this is going to be the type animation state. All right, that's it. Then we're going to have to understand what happens in which one of these states separately. So I'm going to just say here switch, and then my state. It's going to be animation state. It's going to complete with all the states that we have here before, and then we're going to just complete each one of them. So the first one, which is normal, is just the current frame is 0. We're going to always start at 0. Then we have prepare for download, which is, as I said, it was exactly the same as this. Animation view dot play to 120, right? Which what it is, what we did before, right? So then we have progress, and from progress we can just copy this one here as well, so we don't have to rethink the logic because it's exactly the same logic, the same animation. And then finally we have animation view dot play, and then we have to the frame which is 240. All right. So now we set up everything inside of download view. Let's go back to content view, and then we now need to send the animation state inside of this download view implementation. This is going to be the type of state var, because it has to change regarding the interaction. So I'm going to say animation state. This is the type of download view dot animation state. And then the initial value, this we're going to declare like this, and then the initial value is going to be as normal. So this is where it's going to start, right? And then here I'm just going to pass this variable as, because it's a state variable, we need to send it like this, and then the animation state. Okay, once we press, that's when we're going to start the whole download process, right? The same as we did before, just to understand here. We prepared, then we have the download, and during the download, we set the frame, and then we set the completion, right? So we're going to do that. I'm going to first copy this thing here. And then first thing, to prepare, we're going to say state equals to prepare. No, not it's animation state equals to prepare for download. So it's going to take the animation to that state, and then I'm going to start my download. To start my download, the progress itself is going to be handled by the state this time. So I'm going to say animation state equals to, this is going to be downloading, and then the progress. This time I don't need to use animation view because animation view is going to be handled inside of download view, right? So we don't need uh, to, to even mention it in here. And then finally, so I set here my downloading, and then finally I'm going to just say animation state equals to downloaded. All right, that's it. That's the entire implementation. I guess it looks a little bit simpler, but let's see if it works now. So I'm going to just run my code again. And if everything is correct, it should show me an animation here. When I press, it changes the state. It starts the progress download, and then it says completion, the same as we did in the previous one. So you can see it looks exactly the same. Yep. So that's it. We just wrapped the entire implementation. Just to recap what we did in SwiftUI, we created a download view as a UI view representable. We created our animation. We added this animation inside of a view just for the layout constraints. We created a state, a state in with all these the possible states of this animation. And then finally, we set the state individually with update state using a binding variable. And this binding variable is actually set in my content view as a state var. All right, hope you liked it and hope it's useful as well for you. Shashank?
Thank you so much, Evandro. It was great. Thanks for walking us through the code and recapping us what we have learned. I know it's a lot of information at this point of time to digest, but your walkthrough was very helpful and session was really very informative.
Thank you.
So, just a quick one before we go to Q and A. Where can we get the code base? Do we have it on GitHub?
Yes, so everything that I showed here today is actually in GitHub. We're going to post a link here in the comments. So if you have, if you want to implement something similar, you can always check the code from there.
Perfect. That sounds absolutely great. So now, guys, I would be basically opening the stage for Q and A. If you have any questions, you might put it in comments. And if you like the session, please show love for Ivandro. Drop a heart in the chat box as well. Um, so I'm opening up the stage for Q and A. Please leave your questions in the Q and A. We will pick it up one by one, but I have some pre-asked questions. I would be picking them up one by one too. To be very precise, there are three questions which I have at this point of time. So, Evandro, uh, this is a community member who is asking us how to manipulate Lottie from code in the runtime.
Okay, so there are a few ways of manipulating, but like the most I think the most open one is actually to change colors. Like let's say you want like dark mode or light mode of an animation, you can change the colors in runtime. It's not the easiest process, and I'm gonna quickly show you here how to do it. So Shushan, can you please share my screen one more time? And like just to understand how this works is you come here to animation to your view after you loaded your animation, so it has to be inside of this closure here. You can run this thing here called animation view dot log hierarchy key paths. If you do this and then you run your application, you will see that it will print in the logs. Let me go back. You will print in the logs all the layers, all the key paths for the layers. What you have to change in here is actually the color. So let's pick just a random color in here. You can see that this animation is basically gray, right? I'm just going to pick something here, and then I'm going to alter this thing. I already have this. Um, Okay, let me just do like this. So I'm going to say animation view dot and then set value provider. The value provider is going to ask me for two things. One of them is the value provider, and then the key path. The key path is actually the thing that we copied from the logs, and the value provider is actually the color that we're saying. So I'm going to say here color value provider. And then from here, I'm going to just add a color. The color you can input as it's actually a Lottie color, so it's in RGB. So let's say I want, for example, a red color. I'm going to say 100, and then one again, and then my key path with the key path itself, with the what we copied from the logs here, right? So I'm just going to add this in here, and if I run my animation again, it's going to just change it in runtime. It's That's it for the demo, but like it's not the best way to change colors. I would recommend doing it in design side, but if you have to change it in runtime, that's how you would do it.
That's all. That was very informative, Evandro. Thanks for again give us the quick code based run through. I have another one. Lottie is generally performance intensive. How do you mitigate that?
Well, definitely a good question. Like there are like several ways of. Well, it is very heavy for the processor for sure. What you have to do is the most of the work is actually has to be done from the design side. So, for example, you have to have the more complex the animation is, more layers, more the duration is bigger or more images in the animation. Of course, it's going to get heavier, and you know how heavy it is by looking at the size of the file. So if it's too big, let's say you have an animation, a JSON file that is 1 MB, of course, it's going to be very laggy. So try to make it as compact as possible. So it's not only about the size, but also the complexity of the animation itself. So like I would say my recommendation is try to do that in try to make like it easier for the processor in the design side. And in the development side, what you can do, try not to show too many animations at the same time. You can see in LottieFiles app, sometimes it lags a little bit because we're showing too many animations at the same time. And this is some of the tips.
Okay, perfect. How to handle success and failure states in progress animation?
Okay, so the same way as I was showing to you, like with the progress animation, and then I state before, and then the state that goes to these states here, right? Like it goes, it starts the download, and then it downloads, and then it shows a success thing here. You can see that we didn't use the entire animation for this demo, right?
Right.
You could actually have an extra part of this progress here of the animation, which is the failure state. And this is when we're actually going to show, and we can control this failure from the code because you know the animation at that point.
Perfect. So from picking up that
Yeah,
frame up till where you want, you can basically manipulate it, right?
exactly. Yes.
Okay, makes sense. Makes sense. Okay, so we have got some questions in the chat as well. Let's have a look in the comment section.
Okay, so Zach has a question there, which is asking about the assets images coming from remote sources in the file. I have we have to come back to you on that because I never tried, to be honest. I would say it might get a little bit lighter for the size of the animation, but it wouldn't change on the compilation time. It's still going to be, it still might be heavy for the compilation time. What changes is basically the size of the file. So like loading the first animation might be faster if that's even possible. But I think right now it doesn't Lottie doesn't support remote files. But you could always download it and then play the animation.
Okay.
Um, yeah. Also, Amar has a question about like what was the hardest part to implement. Um, Doing will dramatically affect the UI and okay, I'm not really sure about the hardest thing to implement, but like I could think of use cases that could happen. Like what? So like for example, once I worked with animation. And the progress was like it was the same as we are doing with the completion animation here. It was like a 24-hour loop, and then this 24-hour loop like it was like some landscape, and then the landscape would change based on the time of the day. So and then the 24-hour loop, let's say that 0 was 0 hours and 1 was 24 hours, and during this loop it would start as midnight, and then like the sun would come up and then it comes down, and then the moon comes up. All of this, it of course it was quite heavy animation because like there was so many things going on over there, but it was possible to do in one single thing. And then like the coolest thing was actually to show this animation in like calculate the time of the day to match with this animation. So like if the user enters at 5 p.m., it would be in sunset mode or something like that. Of course, you cannot follow exactly like all time zones in the world, but like it was a standard time. So that was quite cool, and like cool. It was a challenge to understand that you could do that with an animation as well.
Perfect.
And then Pedro is asking about the optimal size for performance. Good question. I'd say like the smallest, the better for sure. Like we see a lot of animations that are like only 10 KB, 20 KB. Like those are quite nice. Like they're never going to cause any issues. Try to avoid like over hundreds of KBs. Because usually those are going to be you can imagine like the Lottie animation is a JSON file, right? A text file. So the bigger it is, it means that you have more information inside of this text file, and like more structure and like the several layers and so on. The more layers you have there, the more like let's say you have a tree of layers that goes like I don't know 20 times down. Of course, like it's going to take longer to process. So like the more you can do to compact the structure to not to be too complex, more performatic it will be. Hope that answers the question.
Any other questions, guys? I hope not. So, well, uh, I'm not saying much. We have got one more question from Zach. Does the new core animation render engine allow for larger performant file sizes?
Ooh, okay, I have to go back to you on that. We didn't try testing on this section just yet. So far I think like the latest phones wouldn't have as much problem, but of course in the end of the day, any applications, I'm talking specifically from iOS applications, will have like a limited memory given by the system, right? If you go over this limited memory, I think it's about 50 MB that your app can be in the memory. If you load, for example, too many images and the images are too big, your app will crash because that's to protect the system, right? The same would happen with animations. So like theoretically it should be you would be able to do a lot over there, but of course there is always like a limited memory from the system as well, and processing.
Cool. Well, that's pretty much it. Thank you so much, Evandro, for giving us the knowledge which you have shared us with us today. I would like to thank you from the team members who have the community who have joined us on the live stream, and we would like to thank you too for giving us the time and giving this information by sharing the code base as well, and also sharing the GitHub. So that is going to be very helpful in future. um, that was it. Thanks for being here. Thanks for be here today with us, Evandro. um,
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, guys. That's pretty much it about the session. We'd love to be in touch with you. So I would appreciate if you could join us on social medias. Come and say hello on Discord, or let's say on Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, wherever you feel comfortable and you're active on. We would love to stay in touch with you so that we can give you further information and we can build a point whereby we could connect via live streams or via offline events, whatever is comfortable with you guys. So I encourage you guys to please stay in touch with us so that we can keep this relation going and for a long time. Also, as the session has been ended, I would love to hear your feedback. How was the session? About the technical aspect as well, about the whole flow, and the and information given to you. I would appreciate if you could make some time to quickly scan this code, and in your spare time you can definitely leave us and give us feedback so that we can improve uh, in future if need be. Thank you so much. You guys have been amazing. Have you not joined us? This session would have not been interactive. You made the session very interactive with Evandro too. Um, that is really very helpful, and we are grateful for you for joining and making us time for tuning in. Um, I would appreciate if you could join us in future as well whenever there's a live event going on. Uh, do keep us following us on the social media so that you can be in touch with us. I would like to end this session with a quick video. You guys have been amazing, signing out for the day.